أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. It is the 13th of Rajab, the birthday of Ameerul Momineen, Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. We ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to never take away this wilayat, this mahabbat that we have towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, even for a moment from us, may that be here or in the hereafter, and the shafa'at of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam be bestowed to every one of us. There is a hadith you must have heard. It is from Imam Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam. Imam says that Islam is based on 5: on prayers, on zakat, on fast, on hajj, and on wilayat. وَمَا لَمْ يُنَادِ بِشَيْءٍ كَمَا نُودِيَ بِالْوِلَايَةِ. And then says that to none of these 5 the address is such strong and such heavy as it is towards wilayat. Wilayat, it's the custodianship of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in all walks of life. It is not just love and mahabbat and ishq, it is far beyond that. Accepting the wilayat of Rasulullah, accepting the wilayat of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam as our custodian in all walks of life, in all practices, in all actions, in every phase of our life. With reference to Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, كان أول الناس إيمانا برسول الله. He was the first one to have faith in Rasulullah. لم يشرك بالله طرفة عين. For a blink of an eye also, he was never a mushrik. At the age of 10, at the age of 13, he submitted to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then all these riwayat that we have, the Khilafat of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam was announced in the hadith Yawm al-Inzar, that is, the Khilafat was given to Ameerul Momineen at the age of 10, and this is a fact, a hadith, a report that both the schools of thought of they have, both the Shias and the Ahlus Sunnah, they have reported that at that very age of 10 years, when Ameerul Momineen was present and amidst all the dignitaries of Mecca on 3 consecutive days, Rasulullah, he announces the wilayat and the khilafat of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam, saying, Hada akhi, this is my brother, wa wasiyyi, my successor, wa khalifati, and my khalifa amongst you. So how come at that very young age, when Ameerul Momineen is not even baligh, or at the terms that we have, not mukallaf, etc., so how come is that possible? Now that is something that when Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, when He intends, when He desires, when He wishes, He gives the nubuwwat to the imamat to who He wishes at whatever age He wants. Now we have an example of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. He is a baby, he is an infant just born, and there he says that Atani al-kitab wa ja'alani nabiyya, that I am indeed the servant of Allah, a book has been given to me, and I have been made a prophet. Or for example, Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wasalam at the age of 5, Imam Jawad alayhi salatu wasalam at the age of 8. To him the imamat was given. So that is something that Allah, when He intends, when He wants, when He wishes, it happens. Now there are numerous ayat in Quran, and then there are many riwayat from Rasulullah and from other sources regarding the sanctity, regarding the azamat and the greatness of Ameerul Momineen Salamullahi alayhi. With reference to how at the age of 10 he is practicing a deen that Rasulullah hasn't yet announced. Rasulullah is officially announced as the Prophet on the 27th of Rajab at the age of 40, and here Ameerul Momineen is just 10 and he is practicing the Shariat that Rasulullah has to bring forth. Now we do have examples in Quran where prophets were practicing a religion, and that religion wasn't yet been announced. For example, we do have Prophet Yaqub before Tawrat was revealed, or even much before the birth of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Prophet Yaqub is practicing Tawrat. So Allah reveals the teachings and the ahkam to Prophet Yaqub of a book that is yet to be revealed to a prophet who is yet to be born. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He makes such arrangements where the prophets, before the birth of a prophet and before the coming of a Sharia, that Sharia is being practiced. So here Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is a follower of a religion, and that is to be brought and announced by the Prophet later. But here Ameerul Momineen is practicing that same religion which Rasulullah is also practicing and is yet to be announced. So here we do have ayat in Quran. One of them says, كل الطعام كان حلا لبني إسرائيل إلا ما حرم إسرائيل على نفسه من قبل أن تنزل التوراة. Before Tawrat was being revealed, here we see that Bani Israel are practicing some of the ahkam, and those ahkam were taught to them by Prophet Yaqub, who is practicing and who is preaching a religion which hasn't been introduced and announced yet. In fact, the Prophet to who this Tawrat is to be revealed, that Prophet also hasn't been born, and that is Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, with reference to the Iman of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam, before Ba'sat he was taught by the Prophet. We do have the statements and ahadith says, Kana awwalun nas imanan bi Rasulullah. The first one to be faithful, to have embraced Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is Ameerul Momineen. Lam yushrik billah tarfat ayn. He was never a mushrik, not even for a blink of an eye, ever. He was always faithful to Rasulullah, and he was always faithful to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now, with reference to the fada'il and the virtues of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam, once, now this is being reported by Ibn Abbas, says that Rasulullah was invited to his daughter's house, Hazrat Fatima Salamullahi alayha. He wanted some water. Hazrat Fatima offered him a cup of water. He drank from that cup. And then Imam Mujtaba alayhi salam, now all of them, the five, they are present. Rasulullah, Hazrat Fatima, Ameerul Mu'mineen, Imam Mujtaba and Imam Hussein alayhim salam, all of them are present. Here, after Rasulullah, he drank from the cup. He gave the cup to Imam Mujtaba alayhi salam. He took the cup and he drank from the cup. Here upon Imam Hassan drinking from that cup, Rasulullah looked at him and said, Hani and Maria. Hani and Maria in Arabic, it means enjoy that drink. That's the best translation or the nearest translation that we can have. And then Imam gave the cup to Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein alayhi salam drank from the same cup. And then again Rasulullah, he said the same. Hani and Maria, Ya Aba Abdullah. Enjoy that drink, Ya Aba Abdullah, to Imam Hussein. He gave the cup to Hazrat Fatima. She drank from the cup, and the same statement was uttered by the Prophet to Hazrat Fatima Salamullahi alayha. She then gave the cup to Ameerul Momineen, Ali alayhi salam. He drank from the cup, and this time Rasulullah, he bowed down in sajda. He bowed down in sajda. The wives of the Prophet, they were present in that meeting. They came and they inquired for the reason. How come when all the other members, they drank from the cup, you said Hani'am Mari'a, and then when Ameerul Momineen drank from that cup, you bowed down in sajda and you said Hani'am Mari'a ya waliyyi wa hujjati ala khalqi. Here Rasulullah reveals the secret and says that when I gave the cup to Hassan and then to Hussein and then to Fatima alayhimus salam, it was Jibreel and all the angels who were saying and chanting Hani'am Mari'a, and I also repeated what they said. And then when Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam drank from the cup, I saw the Almighty Allah say, I heard the Almighty say, Hani'am Mari'a, enjoy that drink, Ya Waliyyi, my custodian, wa hujjati, my argument, my evidence, ala khalqi, on my creation. And that is why I bowed down in sajda and I repeated. So that is the rank of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam in riwayat, in the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Now, the heaven, it belongs to Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam. He is the owner of the heaven. And when Mu'mineen will enter the heaven, Hadith says that they will hit a latch, which is upon the entrance of the heaven. And that latch is made of gold, and then it will hit a ruby plate, which is on the entrance of the heaven. And when you hit the latch onto that ruby, with that ruby handle onto the door of the heaven, the doorbell or the ringtone of that is Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali. And it is because he is the owner of the heaven and he is the Qasimun Nari wal Jannah, meaning that the distributor of the hell and the heaven, it is Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, when you hear these statements and out of joy when you enjoy them and your soul accepts them, recite a salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And here Hadith says that Man salla ala nabi, whosoever sends a salutation, recites a salawat upon the Prophet and his progeny, marratan, once, marratan wahidatan, binniyatin wa ikhlas, with sincere and pure intentions. From your heart you said and you recited a salawat. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala qada Allahu lahu ma'ata haja. 100 of your wishes and your hajat, they will be fulfilled just because of that one salawat that you recited out of your pure intentions upon Rasulullah and his pure household. Now when we look into the teachings of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, now with someone with such magnitude and such intense fada'il that he carries, for example, we've got the tens of riwayat, hundreds of riwayat from Rasulullah, where he says that Unwanu Sahifatil Mu'min Hubbu Aliyin alayhi salam, says the title deed of the action report of a believer, of a mu'min, it is Hubbu Ali, the love of Ali alayhi salam. So if you find that the action report of believers is present and the tag or the title of that file is Hubbu Ali, then you are safe. Says that is the title deed of the action report of a mu'min, it is Hubbu Aliyin. Now Hubb also, it is the love that we have, which is in line with obedience to Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam. Or for example says that Rasulullah, he says that Hamilul Liwa'i fi dunya wal akhirah Aliyun alayhi salam, my flag bearer in this world and in the hereafter, it is Ali alayhi salam. Now when the ahkam were being revealed and all the doors that opened into Masjidun Nabi, and then the Ghusl Janabat's rule was informed to the people. Now people, due to the love that they had to Rasulullah, and when Rasulullah moved to Medina and he established that Masjidun Nabi, they all wanted to be in the vicinity and very close to Rasulullah. So what they did is that the masjid was made in Medina, and Muslims, they all made their houses around Masjidun Nabi. And they had two doors that opened into their dwellings. One into their house and another door from their house into Masjidun Nabi. Now the ahkam were revealed. Now that in the state of Janabat, no one is allowed to enter a masjid. Here Allah says that all doors that are open into Masjidun Nabi, they have to be shut. They should be closed. Exception was the door of Ameerul Momineen, Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. Here says that Amarani Rabbi bisaddil abwab, says my Lord, my God, he commanded me to close all doors that open into the masjid, illa babu aliyin alayhi salam. Exception was the door of the house of Ali alayhi salam, which is never to be closed, never to be shut. And then as-siddiqoon thalatha, Rasulullah says the trustworthy or the siddiqoon, they are three. Mu'minu Ali Yasin, that is that mu'min in Ali Yasin, that is Habib al-Najjar, mu'minu Fir'aun, and then afdaluhum Ali, and then says that the best of all of them, it is Ali alayhi salam. Says Nadal Munadi Yawm al Qiyamah, on the day of judgment the caller would say that Ya Muhammad, Ni'mal Ab, Abuka Ibrahim, says Muhammad, the best of fathers is your father Ibrahim. And then the caller would say Ni'mal Akh Aliyun alayhi salam, and the best of brothers is Ali alayhi salam. Or for example, Rasulullah, he says لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ وَسِيٌّ وَوَارِثٍ, that is, every prophet has a successor, has an inheritor. وَوَسِيِّي وَوَارِثِي عَلِيٌّ alayhi salam, my successor, my inheritor is Ali alayhi salam. Or for example says خَلَقْتُ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, that I and Ali were created from one tree. Ana wa Ali, I from one tree. And then the most knowledgeable of my nation, it is أَعْلَمُ أُمَّتِي مِنْ بَعْدِي Ali. Says أَقْضَى أُمَّتِي عَلِيٌّ alayhi salam, the best of judges in my nation, it is Ali alayhi salam. Man kuntu mawlahu fa mawlahu Ali, and whosoever's mawla and master I am, and his master is Ali. And then there are tens and tens of riwayat from Rasulullah in the honor and in the fadilat of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam. Now this Ali, Ameerul Momineen, with such greatness that he carries. Now when we look into the statements that he has in his rule, Malik Ashtar is one of his commanders, one of the servants of Ameerul Momineen. Now when Ameerul Momineen gives the charge the affairs of Egypt to Malik Ashtar and sends him as his representative, as the Hakim and the ruler of Egypt, in that appointment letter he has some statements. One of the statements that Ameerul Momineen has for Malik Ashtar says that وَجْعَلْ أَفْضَلَ أَوْقَاتِكَ لِلصَّلَاةِ. Malik, now that you are being sent as a ruler, as a governor and a representative of Ali to Egypt. Now Egypt also, it's one of those great countries and one of the largest countries then and even now. and it was one of the strong backbones of the hukumat of Ameerul Momineen. To the ruler, Imam says that the best of your times should be given to Salat, Malik. That is, the worth and the value of all you do is going to be based on your prayers, on your Salat. And then says, وَعْلَمْ أَنَّ جَمِيعَ أَعْمَالِكَ تَبَعٌ لِصَلَاتِكَ. All of your actions, they will be based on your prayers, on your Salat. So invitation in practice is by Salat. Here Ameerul Momineen gives such importance to Salat, and then gives that in that appointment letter to Malik Ashtar, that the best of your times should be spent for Salat. All of your actions, whatever they're going to be followed, and they will be next after Salat. So Amr bil Ma'roof is wajib, and the best Ma'roof that we have in the hukumat and in the teachings of Ameerul Momineen, it is Salat. And this can be by inviting in words or in practice, and that is that we have for Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam. And on this day of Ameerul Momineen, one of the things that we can add to our program, if you can daily, if not then weekly, at least once in a while, and that is Salat Ja'far Tayyar. Then that is the gift that Rasulullah gave to his uncle Ja'far on his return from Africa. So now here, when Rasulullah was returning from the battle of Khandaq, and here when he comes to a crossroads, there he meets Ja'far Tayyar. Now here Rasulullah was overjoyed at seeing Ja'far. Now Ja'far is returning from Africa. He was sent by the Prophet for tabligh, for propagation. And after converting so many people in that continent and inviting them to Islam, Rasulullah, when he sees Ja'far, he is overjoyed. He says that I don't know which joy I should celebrate, and that is Fath Khaybar, the victory that we sought in the battle of Khaybar, or it is Ja'far's seeing Ja'far. Which one of these two joys I should cherish and celebrate? And then he says that I'm going to give you a gift, Ja'far. So the Muslims then they thought that it may be what they have got from the battle of Khaybar, all that they have gained in the booties from that war. It may be some ammunitions, gold and silver, money, etc., that Rasulullah will be giving to Ja'far. And then all of a sudden Rasulullah, he comes and says that Ja'far, this is a gift that I am giving you, and it's a 4 rakat prayer, and you offer it in that format. And if you do that, the sins that were done throughout the life, from the point that you offered the prayers and the next prayer was offered, says every wrong that was done will be removed, and all you wish and all you desire, whatever your hajat be, they will be given to you for this 4 rakat prayer that you offer. And on this day of Ameerul Momineen, one of the best Eidies, or one of the best applicables, or something that we can add on to our daily program or weekly, whatever you can, is this Salat Ja'far Tayyar. And it is a 4 rakat prayer in sets of 2. And then in the first rakat, after Suratul Hamd, you recite Surat Zalzala. In the second rakat, after Suratul Hamd, you recite Suratul Adiyat, and then you end the prayer. In the third rakat, Suratul Hamd and then Suratul Nasr. And in the fourth rakat, after Suratul Hamd, it is Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Now the difference in this salat is that after reciting the surah, you will repeat Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar 15 times. And then in ruku, you will recite the same Tasbihat Arba'a 10 times. After ruku, 10 times. In sajda, 10 times. After sajda, when you sit up, 10 times. Again in sajda, 10 times. And after sajda, when you sit up, 10 times. And then you will stand and do the second rakat. And again after the surahs, 15 times. And 10 times the Tasbihat Arba'a in every transit of your prayer. So altogether in every rakat you will do 75 Tasbihat Arba'a. So altogether in this prayer, it is going to be 300 times you have recited the tasbihat arba'a. Now the beauty of this tasbihat and the prayers of Ja'far, it is great. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he says that when you offer these prayers, and then if like Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam, you clean and purify the Masjid al-Haram for people to worship, that is because it is important. And now also over here we are giving importance to the same ruling and teaching that Rasulullah was observing, that Prophet Ibrahim and Ismail observed in practicing, in preaching and in observing these prayers in all these sacred sites. Now salat and jihad and shahadat, all these three, they are great. Now many of you know that from among the Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam, he was killed in a masjid in the month of Ramadan on Laylatul Qadr, and in sajda, and in the sajda of the Fajr prayers. So the best of the best of the best was given to Ameerul Momineen. First of all, a death like shahadat in a mosque in the month of Ramadan on Laylatul Qadr in the Fajr prayers, and the height of prayer and worship is in sajda. So Ameerul Momineen got the height and the best of even the deaths. Now here we see that many of the ulama, or those who are again in line with the teachings of Ameerul Momineen, whose wish and whose desire was to be like Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam. We have shuhada who were killed in the Friday prayers, like Ayatullah Ashrafi Isfahani, Dasghaib, Saduqi, Madani, or Shaheed Arif Hussaini, or Ayatullah Baqir Sadr. All these are the shuhada who were killed in prayers, and all these are sincere servants of Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam. So Ameerul Momineen, he in that appointment letter to Malik Ashtar says that the best of your timings should be allocated for prayers. All you do and all your services, they will be secondary, and that is after your prayers. So they will be based on your prayers. If the prayers are excellent, then the services also will be marked as excellent. Now when we look into Quran says that abandoning salat is equal to hell. And in the Akhirah also there will be many conversations between those to whom the hell will be assigned and those to whom the heaven will be given. The question will be that what took you to the hell? They would reply, Lam naku min al musallin. That is, we did not pray, we did not offer salat. So salat, it is that master key to acceptance of all worships. Kullu shay'in min amalik tab'un lissalatik. And that is the command of Ameerul Momineen to Malik Ashtar, that whatever you would do, Malik, that is all of your actions, they will be based on your prayer. So the permit to pass in the Akhirah, it is salat. And if the cops over there, they stop you, and we, God forbid, we do not have a license, no matter what document we produce, that police is not going to accept it from us. He wants to see a driver's license. Without that driver's license, that penalty will be there, and all whatever is waiting for us. The same thing, the license that we need in the Akhirah to enter into the Akhirah, into the heavens, it is salat. Salat, it is that first advice and the last wasiyat of all of the prophets, of all of the Anbiya, of all of the Imams. That reporter, he says that I went to condole upon the shahadat of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam to his family. Habiba, when she saw me, she said to me that I wish you were present in the last moments of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam's life. The reporter says, why, what was special? She says that he instructed all of his family members to congregate. Everyone came and we congregated around the deathbed of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. His eyes were closed. All of a sudden he opened his eyes, and there he says, La tanalu shafa'atuna mustakhifan bis salat. That is, our shafa'at is not for those who take prayers easy. Now over here, not offering prayers is not being mentioned. Abandoning prayers is not being mentioned. It is taking prayers easy, not performing them as they ought to be performed. That is, not with the right mood and manner, it is being mentioned. So salat, it is that first advice of all of the Imams, of all of the Prophets, and it is the same with Ameerul Momineen. And if you want to check how and what rank a person has before Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, see how he interacts, how he reacts, and then how he ties himself at the time of azan and at the time of prayers, and see, there you can find out and judge and gauge as to what rank and level he has before the Almighty Allah. If the salat protects you from sins and corruption, means that salat is worthy. And if that salat doesn't stop us, is not a hindrance between us and the wrong that we do, means that that salat is faulty, and that is a checker that we have to look into our prayers, into our amal. Now, salat, it is that remembrance of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Aqimis salata li dhikri. That is, you keep up prayer for the remembrance of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now, all these are beautiful teachings that Ameerul Momineen emphasized throughout his life, and for those teachings he was killed. It was that height of justice of Ameerul Momineen, and it was that worship of Ameerul Momineen, it was that submission of Ameerul Momineen towards Rasulullah, towards Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, that made everyone furious, for which he was killed. And hadith says that Qutil Ali, Ameerul Momineen, was killed in fi mihrab ibadatih, in the niche of his worship, lishiddat adlih, for his justice, all that height of justice that he had. And that is Ameerul Momineen Ali alayhi salam. Now it is, we just talked about Salat Ja'far Tayyar. Now this Salat, it's a means of remembrance, and it is something that if we add on to our program on this day of Ameerul Momineen, it is we who will benefit from that here in this world and in the hereafter. Now, when we look into the ahadith, for example, Prophet Sulaiman, ala nabiyyina wa alayhi wa alayhi salam, here Prophet Sulaiman had a rule on the winds, he ruled on humans and on jinn. And the hukumat of Prophet Sulaiman, it was vast. And then he traveled on the winds. One day he was cruising. One of the farmers in his kingdom, he saw Prophet Sulaiman cruising in the winds. And there he says, wow, what a lifestyle he has, what wonders he has. And then Prophet Sulaiman immediately landed by the farmer. And then he says to that farmer, what you see, it will perish. Nothing will remain. This rule that I have on the winds, on humans, on jinn, and all what you see in my possession, nothing will remain. And there he says, tasbihatun wahidatun, and then yuqbiluhu Allah khayrun min mimma utiya ala Dawood alayhi salam. Says one tasbih that you utter and you recite biqalbihi, with your heart sincerely, says that it is khayrun, it is much better than whatever Allah has given to the dynasty of Prophet Dawood. Not only to Dawood, not only to Sulaiman, to all of their generations, whatever Allah has given, all that on one side, and one subhanallah you say, that is much more in weight and in ajr and in reward than all what has been bestowed and given to Prophet Sulaiman and Dawood and their progeny. Or elsewhere in another quote says that one La ilaha illallah, if you place it in the scale of balance in Mizan, and on the other scale outside of it, if you place the entire creation, the kingdom of matter, whatever Allah has created on one side, and one La ilaha illallah on the other side, says this La ilaha illallah that you will say is heavier, is weightier than the entire creation of the Almighty Allah, the kingdom of matter. So in this Salat Ja'far Tayyar, 300 times you say Subhanallah, 300 times you say Alhamdulillah, 300 times you say La ilaha illallah, and again 300 times you say Allahu Akbar. So in that Tasbihat Arba'a, all four have been mentioned. And these four glorious names of the Almighty Allah, they are the bases and the axes and the pivot of the Arsh and the throne, the kingdom of Allah Jalla wa Ala. And in this Salat Ja'far Tayyar, all of that can be accessed and we can get to that. And then here says that with this zikr and the remembrance that Ameerul Momineen teaches us. Now Ameerul Momineen is zikr, Rasulullah is zikr, Quran is zikr, Salat is zikr. All these azkar that we recite and we say, all of them are recitals, means of remembrance. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ says that you get help from sabr. Sabr means patience. Was-salat means prayers. That is, you get help from patience and you get help from prayers. Sabr has been interpreted as fast, as saum in the riwayat. Salat is salat, prayers. At the same time, in riwayat, we do have sabr interpreted as Rasulullah. Salat interpreted as Ameerul Momineen. Ayah says, that is, when you have a wish, wasta'inu, you get help from, by fasting and by observing prayers, you get to what you want. Hadith says that is, you offer prayers, you observe some fasts, and what you want will be given to you. Now when you interpret in the other way, sabr being Rasulullah, salat being Ameerul Momineen, you get help from Rasulullah, you get help from Ameerul Momineen. Or in this dua that we recite, dua Imam al-Asr, Ya Muhammadu Ya Ali, Ya Aliyu Ya Muhammad, Ikfiyani fa innakuma kafiyan wansurani fa innakuma nasiran, until the end. So here you get help from Rasulullah, you get help from Ameerul Momineen. So when we say Ya Ali, we get help from Ameerul Momineen. It is what Quran has taught to, and then Quran has educated us with that. So all of these beautiful teachings that we have, and when you look into them with a different perspective, and when you say Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een, that is, you only do we worship, O Lord, and it is you that we ask help from, and wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salat, and then you get help from prayers, you get help from fast, you get help from Ameerul Momineen, you get help from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. May Allah tabarak wa ta'ala on this blessed day of Ameerul Momineen make it as such that we become sincere and better servants of Ameerul Momineen, believers of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and the best of supporters and servants of Imam al-Asr alayhi salatu wassalam. وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.